16th, 2021, and I am located in Carmel, Indiana today. It is going to be 84 degrees with more humidity than we've had a couple of days ago. And actually did a workout this morning, went to the gym, and then went for a walk outside. And definitely am feeling the humidity, planning to go to lunch in downtown Carmel and maybe get another walk in on the Monon Trail. For those of you that know the Carmel area, I used to always love taking my kiddos on the Monon Trail, going rollerblading, going for long walks, and so forth. So got to surprise my daughter, Ashley, yesterday. It was her 27th birthday, and it was neat that she actually she graduated from Ball State with her undergrad, and then she got her master's degree from Purdue University, and she now works at the hospital that she was born at. And how interesting is that? So anyway, I surprised her yesterday with a bouquet of flowers, and it was neat because when she was called down by one of the people that work there at the hospital, and the person told her that she had a visitor at the hospital, she thought it was either number one, her best friend, or number two, me. And so she knew it was one or the other. And so I got to surprise her with a bouquet of flowers. She was very happy, and she's just a very sweet young lady, very loving. Her heart and her mind is always to help people. In fact, all of my kids have a very good heart, wanting to serve and love on people, help people in all of their endeavors. So anyway, I had a great day yesterday, and then of course today going to be doing some visiting in downtown Carmel and doing some walks. So trying to endure this humidity, because again, I had not been around humidity really since, I don't know, last year around October, until I ended up coming back to the Midwest a couple of weeks ago. So there you go. Also, to let you know, I'm looking to have my dog Lily make a cameo appearance today. We're going to see if I can actually get her to howl. She is half Chihuahua, half Dachshund, so they call her a Chiweenie, and she's a rescue dog. So we will see if we can get her to howl for you. Planning to do that at the end of my teaching today. So, teaching of the day: how to stop demons from giving you thoughts every day. You know, like most of us, we're told by pastors and people in the church that Christians can't be affected by demons. And so when we grow up, we're like, well, I asked Jesus into my heart. You know, I can pray in tongues, maybe prophesy. So most people think that they can't hear demons. And that's a misnomer. That's a lie. It's rare to find people that don't hear demonic thoughts in their minds. And so I'm going to talk about how what it looks like when we do hear thoughts from demonic spirits, and that way you can identify if you are hearing, which most people are, and then how to take those thoughts captive, and how to not hear those spirits and be able to take authority in Jesus' name over them. So it was a couple of years ago. I was actually in Boise, Idaho, getting my oil changed, and the Lord spoke to me and he said, how many thoughts a day do you think the average person has that's not gone through inner healing and deliverance? Because the people that had always told me, oh my gosh, Nelson, I don't have all those negative thoughts anymore. I don't have the enemy chatter in my mind anymore. I have a lot of peace now. And it's amazing, because my whole life I had all these thoughts. Gave me anxiety, gave me fear, gave me anger, bitterness, depression, suicidal thoughts. I don't have those anymore. That's like night and day. I have peace now in my head, in my mind. And now I can discern if the enemy tries to speak to me. I can take those thoughts captive. So when the Lord spoke to me, he said, how many thoughts a day do you think the average person has? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like they did a study on that. How can you do a study on how many thoughts a day? And the Lord's like, they did. Google it. And I'm like, are you serious, God? I'm like, you're crazy. I go, they did not do a study on that. So I did a Google search. How many thoughts a day does the average person have a day? And voila, they did do a study. It was the National Science Foundation that did the study in 2005. And I'm just going to read this. In 2005, the National Science Foundation published an article summarizing research on human thoughts per day. It was found that the average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those thousands of thoughts, 80% were negative, and 95% were exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. So the Lord told me, he said, Nelson, those are largely demonic. You know, people get hurt, people get wounded, people have people that say things to them that hurt them, and then they keep hearing those thoughts over and over in their mind. That's the goal of the demons, is to speak into a person, to give them negative thoughts, give them thoughts that would cause them to have fear, cause them to have bitterness, cause them to have anger, cause them to have a whole bunch of things that would cause them not to have peace. And he said when people get healed and delivered from that, then largely a lot of those thoughts do go away. And then they can take the remaining thoughts that come to them captive, like we're supposed to. We're supposed to take every thought captive for a reason. That's what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 10, 3-6. So, interestingly, there was another study that was done in the same year. I'm thinking, this is crazy. The same year, 2005, by Leahy. This is a study of Cornell University, in which scientists found that, firstly, 85% of what we worry about never happens. 85% of what you're worrying about. So you can imagine now, if those are demonic thoughts, the demon's going to try to cause you to worry and have fear and anxiety about this bad thing could happen, that bad thing could happen. Your spouse may be thinking this about you, which isn't true. All these negative thoughts that are tormenting a person that's not healed and delivered. And 85% of what you worry about never happens. So that's, again, demonic. And remember that song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. There's some truth to that. Secondly, with the 15% of the worries that did happen, 79% of the subjects discovered that they either could handle the difficulty better than they expected, or that the difficulty taught them a lesson that was worth learning. So the conclusion of that study was that 97% of our worries are baseless. It says result from an unfounded pessimistic perception. Well, I say that 90% of our worries are baseless, and most of those come about because of the demonic spirits that we are hearing in our head, in our mind. Again, the demons come after our soul. Just because we ask Jesus into our hearts doesn't force the demonic spirits out of tormenting our soul. Our soul is comprised of our mind, our thoughts, our will, free will, and our emotions. So the enemy still has legal rights to our soul. Of course, Jesus is after our soul, Satan's after our soul. That's why there's so many people in the church. They may have asked Jesus into their hearts, but they don't actually have the fruit of the Spirit yet, because they're still hearing these negative thoughts, because there are legal rights. The demons have to torment us as long as we have anger and bitterness, unforgiveness, pride. Those will block us from getting delivered. So demons speak to Christians and non-Christians alike every day, giving them thoughts to cause them to have fear, anxiety, anger, bitterness, desire sexual things that are not pure, looking at pornography, having sex with people we're not married to, having thoughts that are not pure, depression, suicidal thoughts. So demons will say things to our minds, our thoughts, like, you are not good enough. You are a loser. You are worthless. You are a sexual pervert. See, this happens a lot when a person gets sexually touched. I do sessions with people every week, private sessions, personal sessions. I've done thousands of these around the world with people. And I would guess 90% have been affected in a sexual impure way when they were young. Either they were shown pornography, they were touched. You don't have to be raped, although people do get raped and molested, incest and things like that. I hear about it all the time. It's very, very rare to find a person in the world that's not overheard conversations that were sexual in nature or had sleepovers where people showed them things they shouldn't be showing them. You know, people call it playing doctor and so forth. All that stuff's not normal. You know, people that are not touched, people that are not exposed to that stuff don't do those things. It's not natural for them. So when a person does touch us, then oftentimes we start having these sinful thoughts sexually, and then we end up doing things to other people that we shouldn't be doing. So anyway, the enemy causes us to get hurt initially from another person. We then start hearing these demonic thoughts that cause us and tempt us to do things that aren't pure. And then the enemy blames us and says, you're a pervert. That's who you are. You know, when I take a person through inner healing and deliverance, the Lord always tells them that you were an innocent victim when they were touched or shown pornography. And then that just, oh my gosh, people just feel so like a weight's lifted off their shoulder. Like, oh my gosh, this whole time I heard the enemy saying that I'm a sexual pervert, that I'm a deviant, that I'm a this and that. And it made sense because I was doing these things or having these thoughts or proclivity to doing these things that I didn't want to do. I knew that they weren't godly. And so when the Lord is able to forgive us, which he's waiting for us to come to him and say, I'm sorry, I repent for that, you know, or if we were hurt and molested, then we were an innocent victim at that point in time. And the Lord's faithful and just to restore us. Well, then we can command the demons to go. And then we don't have all those desires anymore. So anyway, you'll hear demons that will tell you how bad that you are. You know, blame you. They'll tempt you to do things, and then you end up doing it because they keep telling you to do it. Oh, you'll feel good if you do this. You should do that. You should say this to that person. And then when you do it, you get condemned. That's how the enemy does it. That's how demons do it. Demons will tell you that you'll never have enough money. You'll never get ahead. You'll never be successful. They'll tell you that your child hates you, that your parents are evil, your parents hate you. Oftentimes because your parents aren't healed, aren't delivered. So they're going to say things and do things to hurt you. And then you get infected with the same demons that they have. So that generational curse goes down the bloodline to another generation. You know, demons will tell you that you're going to lose your job or become homeless and cause you to get into fear and anxiety and, oh my gosh, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? You know, the enemy will tell you, the demons, that your spouse thinks you're too fat, you're not pretty enough, you're not handsome enough, cause you to doubt yourself over and over and over and over again. You'll hear the church pastor thinks you're not to be trusted, or your boss is jealous of you, is looking for a way to fire you. All kinds of things that will go through our minds hundreds and thousands of times a day. So demons their goal is to convince you of the lies that they're telling you are the truth. They want to convince you that godly people are bad. You know, the Jezebel spirit, people that struggle with that, are convinced that those who are actually good people doing godly things are bad. A lot of times it's because those people know about them, who they are behind closed doors. They've seen some of their behavior, and they want to keep it secret and protect it, so they come out against those who are godly, who normally wouldn't even think twice of trying to post things on social media like people that have demons would do. People that have demons will try to gossip and come against people all day long that are good. So demons interject their voices in our minds to try to get us off base, try to cause us to lose our peace. If they can get us believe what they are saying to us is the truth, then we'll never have peace. So demons have legal rights to torment our soul, which is our mind, our will, our emotions, when we allow them to through unforgiveness for people that have hurt us, unforgiveness towards people who have hurt us, worrying about many things and not trusting God, walking in pride, not repenting. All those things give legal rights to the demons to torment us. So what do you do? What is a person to do? I'll just speak what I went through so that you can understand this. So myself, the Lord did largely deliver me one night. I just woke up and I felt different the next morning. I could hear like his voice, really, I believe, for the first time. And it was just remarkable to me because I was hearing things I'd never heard before. And they weren't condemning, they weren't from the enemy, they weren't my thoughts. and the Lord was setting me up, essentially, from the from things I never had heard of before. And so largely I changed overnight. I was much more patient, had much more of the fruit of the Spirit, put it that way, than I ever had before that. But I still did hear the voices of the enemy. And at that time, I was married to a woman that was very, very hurt when she grew up. And so she would hear a lot of the voices of the enemy, and they would say things and speak things and do things to me that were just not good. Some very extreme stuff that were not good, but it was part of my training. But during that 6-year process, I started to learn to take the thoughts captive. The Lord told me that, listen, some of these thoughts coming to you are coming from demons. They're trying to cause me to, hate my spouse and leave her, before the timing of the Lord, and to believe things that aren't true, and to cause me to try to get angry and bitter and so forth. And the Lord said, you need to take those thoughts captive. And I had to practice at it for probably a year and a half, where the thoughts would come in, and the Lord started showing me, if you listen to a whole sentence from a demonic spirit, you will not have peace. You will probably get more angry. You may get all these other things of the flesh. If you believe what the demonic spirits are saying to you are true, you're sure not going to have peace in your life. So you need to take the thought captive as soon as you can. Don't let them speak a whole sentence, because if you do, you're going to end up being angry, not being at peace, having anxiety, having fear. False evidence appearing real, I say, is fear, in large part that it is. And so I purposefully, intentionally, would listen to every thought coming to me. And what I would do is, if I knew that it was headed into a negative direction, I would stop it as soon as I could. I got it down to about 3 to 4 words. Oftentimes I learned that the enemy would say, Nelson, or your wife, or your stepson, or and I would start, and if I listened to the whole thing, they would have tended to say, you can't trust them because of this, this, and this, and this. You better do this, this, and this, and this. And it was essentially worded around ways that would cause me to legitimately believe what I was hearing was the truth. But I got to the point when I started to hear that, or you better, and I would say, I'm going to stop that. I'm going to keep it at arm's length, is kind of how I saw it in the spirit. I would push that demonic spirit off, essentially, but keep it at a distance. And I would stop that thought from coming to me, and I would either pray in tongues, because you can pray in tongues in your head, I did it this morning. You can pray in tongues, of course, in the flesh. You can go harama, kondara, hirama, kondara, shirama. But if you have your prayer language, if you don't, then you need to get it, because otherwise, oh, you see Lily? Oh my goodness. Where's Lily? Oh, there she is. Hi, Lily. She's pacing back and forth. There she is, right there. She doesn't even know she's going to make a cameo appearance. There she goes over there. So, anyway, but I had to take the thoughts captive after a couple of words. And what I noticed is when I did that, I was able to stay at peace. There was a time that I had a bulge the size of a golf ball in my spine. And the enemy tried to tell me that it was cancer, that it was a tumor, that it was a cyst. And so I had to get to the point where I did not let him speak to me. And I think it took 6 weeks before I got the healing for that. But every day, pretty much, the enemy would try to tell me what it was, and I would not let it get more than 3 words out. He was like, and I knew where it was headed, and so I would stop it in its tracks. I wouldn't listen to it. You can take authority. You can just say, I silence your voice in Jesus' name as well. But then you need to redirect your thoughts. Hey, Lily's right over here. I'm petting her. You redirect your thoughts on something that is true, that is noble, that is just, that is good report. And maybe you think about things that you enjoy, like, I don't know, the weather, sports, things that are positive. Because if I let that demonic spirit speak the whole sentence out, I would have gotten into fear. I would have probably ran to the doctor And then the Lord told me, if you would have gone to the doctor, then your faith is no longer in me, your faith is in the doctor, and you will have to pay the recourse of your faith. You will have to pay for the doctor's appointment. You will have to pay to whatever they tell you that it is. He might have said that it was cancer. He might have said that it was a cyst. He might have said whatever. It was a solid bulge the size of a golf ball in my spine, mind you. So I'm like, I don't want to do that. I didn't have the money, first of all. So I'm like, I am not going to do that. So I kept thanking the Lord that I was healed, and it took 6 weeks, and then it dissolved and went away. Came back about a year later. I commanded it to go. It took a week this time, and then it dissolved. But I had a lot of practice every day of taking the negative thoughts captive. And so that's what the Lord told me to do, was to take the thoughts captive. And if I didn't take all of those thoughts captive, then the enemy would take me captive with those negative thoughts. So I purposefully stopped any negative thoughts. And it was interesting because as I was going through this learning process, I was like, my gosh, how many Christians, quote unquote Christians too, that don't take their thoughts captive, that believe everything that they're hearing is real. And the Lord showed me that's it's the number one reason for all this strife and arguments in marriages and relationships, is a person will hear from the enemy telling them that their spouse or this person believes this about them, and it's a complete out and out lie. And then oftentimes it causes the person to either be jealous, to be angry, to have bitterness, to want to control the person, make them do what they want, and it self-sabotages their own relationships. So how do you fix this? The biggest thing that I would advise is to pursue inner healing and deliverance. Everybody needs it, everybody. And oftentimes it's a process. Oftentimes it may take you a year. It may take you a couple years, depending on how much pain and wounds and abuse that you went through. So you need to start that process of eradicating the demons that we have, and to pursue inner healing and deliverance. But what we need to do, of course, is when I take a person through a session, I say, what are some of the worst things that people have done to you? I write them all down. We then go back and we have the Lord come to speak to them about each person so they can truly see them from the Lord's perspective. And invariably every time the Lord shows them and tells them that that person was hurt. They were hurt. They were wounded when they were growing up. That's why their mom, that's why your mom, that's why your dad, that's why the neighbor boy did the things they did to you. And then when we truly forgive them from our hearts, we can then command the demons to go. Well, once you get healed and delivered, which again is a process, then you become more like Christ. You have more fruit of the Spirit that is evident. Then you don't get triggered. You don't get angry. You don't go off on people. But then you still need to make sure you take the thoughts captive. 2 Corinthians 10:3-6 says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. So a lot of people have strongholds, mindsets, that are believing things that are not true. And they need to redirect that on what the truth is. Let me go on. Casting down arguments and every high thing, which is every prideful thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So you need to bring every thought into captivity. So start intentionally thinking about the thoughts that come to you as you're driving, as you're in bed at night, as you're working out, as you're working. And any thought that comes in that you're like, oh my gosh, that's a demonic thought. That's a negative thought. I'm going to take that thought captive. I'm going to command that to go. Because the enemy wants you to have all these negative thoughts and cause you to, sorry, I'm wiping Lily's mouth. She has been investigating here. I'm in Bob's backyard, by the way, so... But we need to take every thought captive, because if we don't, the enemy will take us captive. And so as you take those negative thoughts captive, then you're going to have a lot more peace. If I think one demonic sentence from a demon is the truth, it's going to cause me to not have peace on whatever it's trying to tell me. The enemy wants you to believe that your spouse is the enemy, and the enemy's not your spouse, it's demons. They need to be healed and delivered. The enemy wants you to believe that your boss, that your parents are the enemy, and they're not. If they're not healed and delivered, they have demonic spirits that are affecting them. So, anyways, guess what? Lily knew that I was almost done, and she came up to me, and she's right here. Want to say hi? Say hi. Hi, guys. Again, she's part Chihuahua, part Dachshund, and she likes to howl. So we're going to see if she can howl. So are you ready? Are you ready to try? Okay, here we go. Howl. There she goes. She did it. Yay, Lily. Yay, Lily. Yay. Woo. She loves to howl. There you go. Good job. All right. High five. Yay. She's a deliverance dog. She likes to get people delivered because she got delivered and she gets to have fun now. She travels the country. She's having the time of her life. And guess what? She was found next to a cemetery. She was skinny, she was gonna die, and she was rescued. And now she travels the world and has fun in her life because she's free. She's delivered from her demons. Yay! All right, well, we'll see you guys later. All right, have fun and make sure that you don't listen to any more demonic spirits. All right, love you guys. Bye-bye. All right, put her down, say goodbye.